All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Greetings from the Garden State, powered by the New Jersey Lottery. I'm your host, Mike Ham. We're here in Asbury Park today. Thank you to the Wonder Bar for letting us in. We have a very special guest, Felipe Rose. Felipe, welcome to the show.
Mike, thank you for having me. Let me see if if I'm in voice. Yep, I'm in voice.
That's perfect. I can't do that.
That's my tribal call.
Yeah.
But in the old days, in the days of the disco days,
Yep.
Studio 54, 12 West, all the clubs, even in Paris, around the world, Australia, I would walk into clubs and people would hear that. And they would say, Felipe is in the club.
Just letting everybody know.
I was always in search of a good party, man.
Sure. Yeah. No, listen, you don't have to tell me about that.
Right.
So if people don't know Felipe Rose, and somehow they listen to this show too, that's crazy. But if the call wasn't a dead giveaway, the chief from the Village People, from, was it 77 all the way up until 2017?
2017, yeah.
Yeah. And so
40 years.
40 years. That's quite a run for sure. So right now we met, and we also have to give some more shout outs before we really get rolling with this conversation. So thank you to Tom from Mutiny Barbecue.
Mutiny, love him.
Love him for introducing us at Georgie's. So shout out to Georgie's too for just being that communal place where
we
people
all
meet.
Misfits.
Exactly.
They're either here, there, or here at Wonder Bar.
Yeah, and that's where I like.
And we all gravitate to each other.
Exactly. The misfits find each other. They're like, that guy's kind of weird. Let's be friends.
I like that.
But we were talking, and you told me when we first met about YMCA, right? We're just gonna go right into it because there's current events things happening with the YMCA song and all that kind of stuff. So came out in '78 on the third album. We were just talking about that off mic, and I think you told me it never made number one.
Never.
But it's number one now.
It went to number one immediately after the presidential election.
Yeah.
And because Mr. Trump loves the song, pretty much like everyone that I know that loves the song.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that because he loves the song, and I listened to a version of a slow ballad version of Boy George singing it, which is on YouTube, and he sang it as a ballad, and I've only heard one other young woman sing it as a ballad. And when you listen to the lyrics, they're pretty, I get it.
Yeah.
Young man, there's no need to feel down. I say, young man, pick yourself off the ground. So I get why he would gravitate to that song, but he also loved the group even back in the days of Studio 54.
Yeah.
When I met him and avoided him with Roy Cohen. I was never a fan of his anyway.
Yeah, right.
That doesn't mean, I don't mean that to disrespect anyone, but when you're trying to throw my community under the bus, then I got a problem with you.
Sure.
So politics aside, I love that the song went to number one after 46 years.
Which is
insane. Insane. And we stalled at number two.
Yeah.
For almost a year. So the four songs, while we stayed at number two, that frog leaped us. Is that correct way? They jumped over us?
Yeah.
Was Chic, which we knew Nile Rodgers and Bernard Edwards. Freak Out. That.
Yeah. Good one.
Okay. And then that couple weeks, then, we're still laying in the cut and we're rehearsing our show. In fact, here in the convention center for a full week. And
this is when?
This is 78.
Okay.
And right before YMCA came out, we were putting together the national arena tour. And then all of a sudden, Rod Stewart's "Do You Think I'm Sexy?" that jumped over us to number one. I never.
Sons of bitches, I'll tell you.
It's not a disco song. It's not a disco song to me, but it regardless. And then all of a sudden, we'll be at number two for a while. We just kept doing our thing.
Sure.
And then We Are Family, Sister Sledge, jumped over us. So that was the third positioning. And so now we're rehearsing the arena tour with my friend still to this very day, Gloria Gaynor.
Yep.
So while we're at Madison Square Garden doing sound check, she releases I Will Survive. Boom! boom, it went to number one. I'm like, geez, man. So we're doing sound check, and
man.
she's giving me the side eye. Like, I'm like, Gigi, what's wrong?
Yeah.
You know, I'm opening up for you guys. It should be the other way around. I said, but sweetie, we got the Jeeps, the TP, the motorcycles.
Yeah.
Come on.
Got it all.
So, you know, she got over it really quick. But, I mean, she did. She just had to vent it.
Sure.
And we've been
What's
friends.
also crazy too. Sorry to cut you
No,
off,
it's
but
fine.
when I was looking through some stuff, like Madonna opened for you guys, Michael Jackson opened for the Village People.
We did a gig together.
Okay.
For Jane Fonda, for her then husband,
Gotcha.
Tom Hayden.
Yeah.
And people see that picture that is it's that picture with Michael Jackson, Jane Fonda, I'm sitting on my knee, Valerie Perrine, Bruce Jenner, now today known as Caitlyn Jenner, and all of us. And then we were doing this big concert.
Gotcha.
For, for Jane.
Right.
But
And
it was not at Studio 54. So people make things up because either they don't do research or they just jump into whatever conversation is going on and join. It turns into a cacophony of misinformation.
Yeah.
No, that's not Studio 54. That was in Los Angeles. But anyway, it's out there.
Yeah. I'll be able to see this guy in the mirror trying to come
People
in.
think the bar's open, y'all.
Yeah,
It
right.
ain't.
And
Not
all,
today.
All the stools are stacked. Okay, so the other thing that I did want to talk about too. So now it's number one, and to finish up that story. So the bridesmaid for a couple rounds, and then 46 years later gets to number one.
To number one and top 10 around the world still. Top 10.
Is it so? We're going to get into more of like the life story too. We won't spend this entire episode talking about this song, but is it like I remember going to a Yankee game at like 8 years old and seeing them do the dance on the field during the seventh inning stretch. Like it's everywhere. It's worldwide. Like at any point in your life, maybe early on, like when you guys are putting out, I think you said 4 records in just like a couple years or 3 records.
Yeah, 2 albums a year.
Yeah,
what a waste of money.
Breakneck pace.
really.
But to have something that you make that long ago that still resonates with people, that still makes people feel good, makes people happy, like that's got to be an amazing feeling.
It is,
yeah.
And I do give credit where credit is due, that the French gay producer that recruited me when I was running around New York City with my long hair braided and my vest and tribal gear and dancing and singing here and there, he and the original ex-lead singer, the songwriter, and I'm not going to mention him by name because I'm very upset right now with this cacophony over this inauguration that's coming up. They wrote the song because it was an afterthought. We needed one more song to finish the album, cruising album, and in some break, he came to the 5 guys, the 5 gay backup singers, with the straight lead singer. Qu'est-ce que c'est? What is YMCA? And we kind of looked at him like 5 little puppy dogs with our heads turned like, what? And someone said, YMCA. And he like just immediately starts humming. Young man, da 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 da, young man. We're going to write a new song, and I rolled my eyes. I'm like, here comes another stupid song. What did I know? What did I know? But the beauty about that combination between him and the straight lead singer, lyricist, is that they both very different human beings. Yeah. Okay, walking very different beats in their lives. They could sit together and write a song that basically Jacques used to always come up with the chorus. And Victor used to, well, I mentioned in my name.
We'll bleep it out.
Would flesh out the lyrics, the verses. So he made it very universal for everyone. But what we were really singing about was the YMCA McBurney on 23rd Street. Okay. Because the Reputation, I never went there. I wasn't working out back then like that. I was very thin, like a rail. Somebody give me a sandwich back then, please. The Reputation was that was the gym where gay men in the village in Chelsea would work out, and they would have sex in the sauna room.
Sure.
You know, and so he was fascinated by that.
Yeah.
So while the song may have been gay when it was released and embraced by the gay community, through the decades, the song had evolved into something like you mentioned, the Yankees.
Yep.
Perfect example. They got away with it because they would cut to commercial, so they never. Groundskeepers
Just playing it in front of 50,000 people a night.
but not
you
to
know?
commercial because they have to pay royalties.
Yeah, right.
So that's how they got away with that. And so the thing is that bar mitzvahs and weddings and all that. So it was a wonderful, lucrative career. It sold 3 million copies in the United States, 12 million around the world. But in other countries, 1. But
Yeah.
in this country, only 2, number
Gotcha.
2.
Yeah.
But not anymore.
Right.
And
So-
that's bittersweet to me because what's now behind it is a lot of hate, harassment, emails, and texts to me, especially yesterday after it was announced that the Village People will be playing at the inauguration party or whatever. And that's all well and good, but let's get it straight, people. Look and do your research. Everyone's quick to jump and look at something and then put out an opinion. That's not the original group. All media outlets should even know that.
Yeah.
TMZ should know better than that. Harry Levin, if you're listening to me, another gay queen, who should know better. No, wait a minute, let's correct that. That's not the original group.
Right.
So that's where, so now, after the day from hell, and getting nasty phone calls, and it's time to change my phone number. No, seriously.
Yeah.
You know, I can let people just say whatever they want because it's their opinion. And,
Sure.
you know, it means nothing to me unless you come at me and for me. And when it hits my doorstep, now we got a problem.
Totally.
And let me tell you, I was in a dark, from the afterglow, no afterglow after my party. I was in such a dark space. I did go to the kitchen and pull out the big butcher knife.
Yeah.
I said, well, I need to use this today. It got to the point that I was shaking. And you know what? No one should have to go through that.
No.
When people are out of nowhere, even a drag queen, Jackie B, pull up a poster calling us village idiots. You know what? I went off.
Yeah.
I dropped a couple of F-bombs on Facebook, called her out, and said, you know what? You better be lucky you don't run into me because I will beat you down.
Yeah.
And your last name is Jackie B. I say, problem with you is you can't cut it as a man. That's why you have to wear a dress. Now, when you come for me like that, I'm from Brownsville, Brooklyn, I will take it down to the gutter.
Yep.
You know, and I don't care who you are, you're entitled to your opinion, but don't make it personal.
Right.
And so this is where we are now today with you, turning the page.
That's right.
It's a whole new day, and you know I want to stand on the work that we've done, doing the AIDS dance-a-thons in the late '80s into the early '90s with Queen Latifah, Rosie Perez. Several times we would donate concerts. Once or twice a year, we would do charities. I would give headdresses away as gifts for charity events.
Right.
You know, because after a while, you know, you can't really throw them away. So, and I did that. I've given gold records away for charity. These things were all done under the radar.
Right.
But now when you're calling me stupid and an idiot, now I'm going to call out the things that I've done that people never knew.
Right.
And my charity here in New Jersey is the Garden State Equality every year and the American Indian College Fund. I've been doing that since 1980. But when I have gay men attacking me, telling me that you should use this newfound money of royalties and give it away, I had to tell one guy, take 5 steps back and sit in the fucking corner. You know, because don't come at me with that.
Yeah.
You know, so apart from that, I need to tap back into the joy of why we set this interview up
Totally.
weeks ago.
I got you.
And I'm not one to, whatever happened in the past between all members and the ex-lead singer, never talked about it. After being sued for $1.something million, I kept that to myself and didn't put it out there on social media because I felt If I put it out there, I make it everyone's business.
Right.
But now the gloves are off.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stay quiet any longer.
Yeah.
Because I do more for people, and then I fall into situations that I can say that I'm really blessed and in a good place that I don't mind taking out $50 and say, here, keep that.
Yeah.
Or picking up somebody's grocery in the supermarket when a mom with her 2 kids doesn't have money for groceries.
Yeah.
And I just look at the cashier, I've got this.
Yeah.
Because that just comes from the heart.
Sure.
Only because I've been given so much.
Yeah.
So, yes, it was a phenomenal run, but now it's bittersweet.
Yeah. Just to piggyback off that a little bit, very minimally, when I was telling people, because when we met and I was telling people like, oh, I'm going to have Felipe Rose on the show from the Village People, blah, 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 I was excited, obviously, and
Not anymore.
Continue to be. Yeah, right. Like one of these.
Yeah, really. Get the hook. Get them out.
Yeah, but between like Tom introducing us and then telling other, because I now know a bunch of musicians and stuff in the area, even some guys that host shows on the radio station. I would be like, oh, I'm interviewing Felipe Rose next week, and they're like, oh my God, Felipe Rose is the best. Like we used to play at Georgie's, we used to do this, we go back to his house, like all that kind of stuff, and all those things that have been said when I've brought you up to other people have been incredibly glowingly positive and just, like you said, charitable and just kind of out there and helping people. And that's really what
I love people.
What it's all
This is my
all
go-to
about.
bar. This is my home away from home.
Yeah.
Georgie's, I pop in because, like you said,
Right.
it's the local, cheers. Here, I've jumped up on stage with bands and sing.
Yeah.
The customers come in, they know me, the staff, they're like family. We act stupid, we laugh.
Sure.
They don't
The misfits.
we're misfits, and
Yeah.
they don't let me get away with anything. They don't blow smoke up my. They go just so. Here's a drink. Go sit down.
Yeah, right.
So and it's nice because I'm comfortable and I feel it's safe.
Yeah.
It's a safe space.
Totally. So let's bring it back to maybe early days. So you're not from Jersey originally, but you've been here most of your life, right?
Since 19.
I think you told me like 1980.
Before that, 78.
Okay, so since 78, and from the city originally, you just said Brooklyn.
The Village.
Yeah. And
Brooklyn, then the Village.
yeah. So what was music? I know was a big part of your life because of your mom.
My mom,
and all
yeah,
that.
she
That was a
one
big
of
part
the
of your
original,
life, right?
one of the original Copacabana girls.
Yeah.
And met my dad on the way to her audition for that, and he was a welder. Most natives have no fear of heights, so he, as she told me, he was coming down holding onto a cable with a steel girder, and she said he came down from the sky. And I think I was 5 when she told me that.
Yeah.
Now they had separated when I was very young.
Okay.
But I caught up with him later, in later years in the mid 1990s. But she said that he's your father and blah blah, and I'm like, well, what happened to him? He's like, get outside and play. She would just cut the story short.
Right.
Almost like, let me not reveal too much about my life, because that's the really funny thing. And most families, we all have this. Our families and parents and grandparents, they would never share life stories of family. They would keep secrets of what went down with that one. Either I would find things out after a funeral.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we're related. That kind of thing. So, those were the days where you just did not.
Yeah. Kept it close to the vest and keep it moving.
Even my mother would vote, and they would, who'd you vote for? She looked at me one day and said, it's none of your business.
Yeah.
And that's how I was raised.
Yeah. So she's in one of the original Copacabana girls, and I've like heard stories of you just being like in there, like around it, and just like, when do you start singing and dancing
as a
on
kid,
your own?
as a
right?
kid, because she used to, after the Copa, they would bring, people would come over, musicians.
Yeah.
Mongo Santa Maria, Bobby Capó, Milta Silva, Carmen Miranda with Olga San Juan, who was married to Edmund O'Brien. These were all people in the 50s that used to party in New York.
Yeah.
And Latin music, mambo music was a melting pot of music like disco. It brought all kinds of people together.
Yeah.
Jewish, black, Italian, all kinds of people. And so my house was like that as a child.
Just people
I would
in and out all the time.
Yeah, I would see people partying and what have you. I would even, now looking back, there were gay people at my house, which I found very discerning, that when my mother found out that I was gay, she didn't like it. And, consequently, well, eventually I was kicked out of the house.
Yeah.
So, what do you do when you're 17? I crossed the bridge to New York.
Yep.
And I went to the Village. I was fascinated with the Village after the Stonewall riots, watching it on TV. Took the train. I wanted to know more about the Village. Felt like a calling inside. And so once she kicked me out, I stayed at some friends here and there with them until I went over the bridge and I found my tribe and
Yeah.
I found my way.
Right. And so when you make that move and you find like your community, I feel like that's been a big kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like theme of your life, really, is like the community that your mom had, and then you found your own community. And then I guess when you came here, you found another community that was also welcoming and inclusive and all that kind of stuff too, right?
Yes, and I lived in Union City along with another friend, dear friend, Tony Orlando from Dawn. We're still great friends. He also lived in Union City, so the two of us have stars in the Celia Cruz park with all these stars.
Yeah.
So our stars are next to each other. But then I moved to Jersey City, and that was another nice, safe place to live in, and the gay population was booming. And then I moved to Richmond, Virginia. I had a state-of-the-art recording studio, shut it down, went down and met my ex, and then ended up living in Richmond, Virginia for 5.5 years. Came back, went back to Jersey City. These buildings went up. There was nowhere to live.
Yeah.
I couldn't find an apartment for this size, the size of a shoebox. So I have friends down here, and they were like, "Come on down to Asbury Park.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna like it." So I came down in 2000,
Okay.
2005, and 2003.
Yeah.
Bought my condo just blocks away, and now I'm in my house up in Neptune. And the reason why I don't live over there, still to this day, people ring the doorbell, asking for
Is Felipe here?
No, they don't know my name. The YMCA guy or the village
sure.
or
Yeah.
the village guy.
Yeah.
But that's just because rumor. Oh, you know who lives in that building?
Yeah.
So eventually, I ended up moving from there because I was leaving Paradise, the club.
Right.
And some friends were dropping me off, and then some guys were sitting on the steps of the building.
Yeah, that's a little
waiting for at 2:30 in the morning.
A little much.
Waiting for the village guy.
Sure.
And my two friends, they said, "You need to move.
Yeah.
They're waiting for you late at night. Is not good."
No.
So I ended up getting my house just up the road.
Yeah.
But
And-
people still think I live there.
Right.
So let
yeah.
them.
Yeah, let them think. They could sit there all night, all day, whatever, if they want to. So when you move to Jersey, and you just mentioned Jersey City too, a little bit there, and even just leaving for 5 years, whatever year that was, like, and the amount of buildup that
Yeah, it was
happened.
1998.
Yeah, I mean, Jersey City now is unrecognizable to what it was in 98.
99, 2000, 2001, and then in it ended, the relationship, and then with my tail between my legs, like a loser. Once your relationship is over, come on.
Sure, you gotta get out.
Everyone knows it. We
Yeah.
feel horrible.
Yep.
Then you go back home. Oh, it's over. Oh, you poor thing. You should have never have left.
Yeah, I told you.
People
Yeah,
are
yeah.
vicious.
Vicious.
You're friends. No,
Sure.
you're friends.
Yeah.
I could have told you that. Well, it's too late now.
Totally. So even coming here to Asbury Park in the early 2000s, like even now, unrecognizable, really, I think in a lot of ways to what it was then.
Not like it is today.
Yeah, it's crazy now. Has that been?
I mean, we have condos going up, like 8, 9 buildings up
Yeah.
the road there, here, across the street over there.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it's turned into, again, it's a interesting city because the locals we keep the city going during the winter.
Yeah.
And then in the summer, we're like, oh, God, here they come. The freezing tunnel.
Yeah.
You know.
People like me, you know.
Well, but you
I feel like I'm an honorary
you
member
infiltrate.
at this point. Yeah, right.
You melt right in.
Yeah.
You're not like you don't stick out like a sore thumb. You know.
I appreciate
in fact,
that.
you're sitting. I met you in the gay bar.
That's right. Yeah, you did.
And
meet
I'm
me in
like,
a gay
oh,
bar.
good, really cute guy with a beard. No, Tom said no. He's not that kind of family.
Yeah, right. Not that kind of family.
At least you'll know about me. I'm consistent.
That's right.
I will hit on you till the day I don't see you anymore.
Yeah.
The Mayo Performing Arts Center is the heart of arts and entertainment in Morristown, New Jersey. MPAC presents over 200 events annually and is home to an innovative children's arts education program. To see MPAC's upcoming schedule of world-class concerts, stand-up comedy, family shows, and more, head to mayoarts.org or just click the link in our show notes.
Looking to buy, sell, or rent in Monmouth or Ocean counties? Megan Carroll of RE/MAX Elite brings local expertise and personalized service. Megan will make your real estate process smooth and stress-free. Bringing Southern hospitality to the Jersey Shore, call Megan today at 732-508-7402 or visit her website at mcsellsbythesea.com.
Okay, so let's bring it back to you're in the Village, and what are you doing? Are you involved in music? Are you at clubs? Like, what are you getting yourself into?
I got a job. Well, my career then started in Provincetown with the Arthur Blake Review, and they were doing a bicentennial review. So it was bicentennial year. And, you know, you don't know. I auditioned with two other, my cousin who's not alive anymore, and Yuba, who was from the Anvil. So I get the job as a chorus boy, but they had too many pilgrims. So they looked at me and they said, but we need an Indian.
Yeah.
You know, and that's really, back then, that's what they used to say, an Indian. Today is Native American or indigenous,
Yep.
or the acronym is NDN. And so, okay, so that's where I started my career. And then when I left back to New York, I then started working in some clubs, and then I auditioned with a dance company, Pachal Guzman Ballet de Puerto Rico, got a scholarship. Then I'm working in the clubs, and that's when disco was starting to was just becoming huge.
Yeah.
And the club and the Anvil was notorious. It was a sort of like a backroom private club for men with male dancers. And the male dancers would not, could not, should not, would never with the customers, or else you'd lose your job.
Right.
And it was in one of those fateful evenings that the DJ, the late Richie Rivera, pointed him out to me, the ex-producer, because I went over to him and I said, that guy over there, see that guy? He says he's a producer and that he wants to do something with me.
Yeah.
Because when he said that to me, I want to do something with you. I looked at him because I thought I knew it all. I had a saying for everything, doesn't everyone?
Sure.
And then my DJ
Yeah.
said, no, he is a French producer. He's got the Ritchie family. Here, go dance to this. So I had sleigh bells on my ankles. So not only could you see me half naked in a loincloth with wearing nothing but the coconuts out, you know, and sleigh bells with moccasins up to knee high,
Yeah.
with Angora fur over it. So you could hear me.
Right.
I was a percussionist dancer. And then I was moving around the clubs in New York, Roseland. I was dancing at Studio 54
Yep.
as a paid professional dancer when it opened.
Right.
And so when he then reached out to me and told me that he wanted me to do percussion on this new album that he was working on, it was the first album.
Okay.
So when you know, if you look at the first album, you'll notice on the cover, black and white album, with the songs San Francisco, Hollywood, Fire Island, and Village People, the song, which has a native drum to it, deliberately.
Right.
Boom, 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 boom. That's the beat on that song, Village People. It was almost like I got there to record a Sigma sound, to lay the sound for percussion for bells, but I instructed them that it would be better to put pillows on the floor so I can then dance on those so you don't hear the stomping.
Yeah, just the
and
bells.
microphones tilted down. But when I showed up all in gear. And that's when the engineer and the ex-producer, they realized, oh, shoot, this guy's the
You
real
can say
deal.
shit.
This guy's the real deal. Look at this.
Yeah.
And then, got paid for it. I thought that was it. Scored a gig.
Yeah.
A couple months later, he said, no, I have something much bigger I want to do. I want to create a group.
Yeah.
So they called me over to his office with his ex-producer, and they showed me drawings of the 6 little microphones with me drawn in as the only character.
Right.
And I think there must have been a concept of a construction worker and a cowboy. And each producer was on each side of me. So I looked up at them. I can remember this as if it was yesterday. I looked at the drawing and I said, "This is stupid. Whose idea is
Who's
this?"
listening to
And
this?
they looked at me and said, "Sherry, no, this is going to be big
Yeah.
big group." So they took that album and they sent it to Neil Bogart
Okay.
of Casablanca Records. And he was fascinated.
Yeah.
This is amazing. Whoa, where's the group? And they said, oh, the group is under wraps. There was no group.
Sure.
There were models on the cover.
Yeah, yeah.
And the ex-lead singer, he sang the leads. Okay, other studio singers came in, got paid to sing the backup. So then they proceeded to do auditions in New York.
Yeah. And those
And-
auditions were like
Open call.
dress as crazy as you can kind of thing.
Come in dressed as a male stereotype.
Yeah, sure.
A macho man, blah, blah, whatever.
Yeah.
And then in came the classic 3, David Hodo, construction worker, blonde hair from California, Broadway chorus boy, who only needed, I think, 2 more weeks of unemployment. In comes the biker with a big mustache,
Yep.
the late Glenn Hughes.
Yep.
Who really rode motorcycles. And he came in there all in black with his cap on, and immediately we were sitting in and we knew that's got to be the biker, that
Yeah.
mustache.
Sure.
And that mustache, along with 2 other mustaches of the most famous in the world, were Tom Selleck's, Glenn Hughes's, and Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
That had mustaches that were really
They
the
pop.
thing. That
Yeah,
popped.
yeah.
And then the rest basically was putting the group together, forming a show. Then immediately the Macho Man came out. We heard it on AM radio. That's how far back we can go. and so we were touring. We put a band together, a live band, and set out doing bus and truck. The interesting thing was that I was pretty savvy. Okay, now we have music, so let me monitor this. So we always had on the bus Record World, Billboard, and Cashbox magazines.
Yeah.
So we could see on the regional charts, wherever we would play, we would attack on 3 fronts.
Right.
We would get into a city, do the morning radio show, TV show, sound check, dinner, the show, back to the hotel, and back on the bus again.
Yeah.
And we did that pretty much till eventually YMCA dropped.
Yeah. Was there ever a moment like in those early years when you're on the bus and you're doing all these things and you're going all over the world, the country, world in certain points too? It's like from where they, I guess found you basically, like Studio 54, Anvil, places like
The
that.
Village, yeah.
And then to take it into like another strata of like huge places that you're playing. Like, does it like compute at any point in
It
your
did.
head? Like,
I
what the hell
did.
am I even doing here?
Yes, it did. It did. And I was the first one that they separated from the original lineup because the choreographer, Richard Moten, was putting the show together. And I was in the middle with 2 guys on each side and the lead singer. So then they sent me off to Paris to go and choreograph
Okay.
2 numbers for the Crazy Horse Saloon.
Oh,
And so I was gone a month, and they said, by the way, bring your headdress, your loincloth, breastplate, everything. You're a star in Paris.
Yeah.
And, that didn't compute till I got there.
Sure.
And then they were taking me out to clubs at night, people celebrating, because the first album was huge.
Yeah.
Oh, I could have. Was huge. So then, of course, I got back and I said, guys, we're huge in Europe. And they were like, oh, are we? So that was the thing.
Yeah.
Is that we didn't really know
Yeah, because
how big we were.
I mean, at that point in the late 70s, it's not like now where you can be like, oh, we're trending or we're doing whatever. Like, you're looking at magazines on a bus and how quickly is that stuff getting turned around and printed and all that kind of stuff.
And then when we heard the song, heard the song on the radio, we were like, oh my God, we're on the radio. And that's when you start to, put one and one together. And then, of course, we spent a lot of time in Paris, practically lived there. We did a movie out there, very long title, Tu me tiens, je te tiens, pour la babachette. I'll pull your beer, you pull mine. And that's the translation. It was a detective crime comedy.
Yeah.
And the group is in the TV studio, and the police are trying to solve a crime that some TV anchor guy was shot and killed, and so we got caught up. It was a French comedy.
Yeah.
Funny, I guess.
Sure. For French people, I guess.
French people. And then so we just kept touring around the world, where most acts really couldn't even get arrested.
Sure.
But everyone wanted to see this group, and the appeal was that anyone in an audience had their favorite they can look at, go to. People like the cop, people love the construction worker. Then the leather community, they love themselves some Glenn. Me, I would say that okay, people liked it, and mostly women because I was half naked.
Sure.
And then if I was on the stage, people would sit in the first two rows, and especially women, and they would slouch under the seat to try to look under, because when I would spin, you would see the buttocks.
Yeah, right.
Which, by the way, they still look good. And then, but what group do you know that's gone to Australia for 39 times?
No.
39 times.
Yeah.
And then the last tour we did, Southeast Asian tour, we hit Australia for the 39th visit in our 40th anniversary, and then we came home and we got the bad news that the trademark was no longer mine, and then we had to give it up with all the social media user handles and all that. And much to the chagrin of certain people, we went, the group that I was with, they decided to fight. I said, don't fight, doesn't belong to you. It's like the keys of the car or the house got taken away.
Yeah.
We have to walk away.
Right.
Instead, they chose to litigate.
Yeah.
So I got caught in the middle between other people, them, and the ex-lead singer. I was caught in the middle. Well, I mean, what do you do with that?
Yeah.
You just pray for the best. Hired another lawyer. I said, well, they're not attacking me. They're attacking my job, and I have to give it up. I have to walk away. I was hoping that it would be an amicable ending to, let's take my line up and you and this and that. But, the powers that be, too many people were involved.
Sure.
I pulled out. And that was in 2017. And in 2020, I then finally got the litigator attorney. He said, everything was settled. We have want you to read everything. I got you what you wanted. I didn't want any settlement money. I wanted my name attached to the trademark name in fair use. Also to dress the way I came in.
Sure.
Dress that way. And to sing the songs if I wanted to sing them.
Yeah.
And then I did, and I re-recorded them with my own, to sing the song my way, not use the ex-lead singer's voice. That just isn't right to do anyway.
Yeah.
And then I embarked on a solo career, and Native American musical. I already started dropping music in 2000. Trail of Tears opened that show. It's on YouTube for the Native American Music Awards. Then the following year, Trifecta. Then 3 songs. Then was inducted into the Native American Music Hall of Fame a month after we received the star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Yeah.
So all of this to hear it, it doesn't sound like it really happened, but it did happen.
Sure.
To me.
Yeah.
And then when I lost the group, when it was over, my fans were furious because when they saw a new group, oh my God, fans are really passionate about their situation, of whom they love. And so I recorded going back to my roots to let my fan base know I'm gonna be okay.
Sure.
And then the NAMMYs, they contacted me and said, "Wow, this is great. We're gonna nominate it. We're gonna put it up." And I'm like, "But you don't have a dance category." And they said, we do
We'll
now
make-
for you. We'll
Right.
make one up.
Yep.
And not only did I do the red carpet that year in 58 minutes, interviewing people, Native brothers and sisters, Native hip hop artists. Then I was closing the NAMMYs
Yeah.
with the band and some of the guys that three other natives, Stanjati and Jan Michael Looking Wolf, that also collaborated on the song with me. And right before we were introduced to close the NAMMYs, they announced the last award of the evening.
Right.
And the last award is blah, 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 Hall of Famer Felipe Rose. And so there was no acceptance speech. We were right into the song.
Yeah.
And then I said, well, thank you very much, but now we're going to do, and we did a native rendition of YMCA.
There you go.
And so that was great.
Yeah. It's got to be cool. I don't know if cool is the right word. That's very, like, dismissive, I guess. But to do something like there's, I guess, certain groups, like the longevity and just, we talked earlier in the episode, like the music and how it makes people feel. And, like, if you say Village People, I would imagine 99.99% of the population can almost visualize like all of you standing up on a stage and singing YMCA or Macho Man or one of the other songs. But then, and obviously, like, it doesn't end the way that you want, but then to be able to get yourself into a place where you're doing stuff for yourself, and like the communities that you've been
And closing the gap.
Yeah, exactly.
Making that full circle, because now I want to record music and connect to the Native community.
Right.
Because of my interpretation of who I am indigenously and Taino Indian with indigenous roots. And so I made it full circle, and a lot of natives were like concerned, like, why now?
Sure.
Well, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, one guy who I still love him, Keith Sokola. He's like the Bob Dylan of Native music. He said, why now? I said, because I wanted to, like, bring it full circle.
Yeah.
To just close and button or bookend.
Sure.
And say that, okay, I did that, but now I'm coming full circle to really display and to honor what and who I am. And I was very successful at it. And we just released another one, and that one after that. And so basically, the last few years, I put a single out in June last year.
Yeah.
That's What You Are. Kind of more in the Latin vein, very Ricky Martin, it's got that Latin rhythm. But see, that's what I find amazing is that as a pop singer, I can dive into the different fashions or the different sounds of music, incorporating, and today it's done very well.
Yeah, totally. And so, but there's even more that you're doing. You had your own podcast, the
Disco Chronicles.
Disco Chronicles.
3 years.
3 years doing that.
3 seasons.
Yeah. And
that was rough work.
Listen, it is rough work. I built my entire career and my entire entrepreneurial journey off of this show. And now everything else that we do, but it's
sure,
it's tough.
The pre-production to write it prior, and then set it up, and then send out the emails to book the show, and because it was me, many disco artists did not return my calls. Yeah. I was like, well, what am I gonna do now?
Yeah.
I mean, Linda Clifford, she came on, beautiful. If My Friends Could See Me Now, Red Light, she was part of the Fame soundtrack. A couple of other disco artists. But then I decided, okay, well, there are other people that were part of that. But for my first interview, who I got was Steve. Steve that was started the Disco Suck movement. God, his name escapes me now. He started the Disco Sucks movement in Chicago.
Okay.
So I got him on the show, and I said, "Did you realize that when you did the disco, the burning of records, that was like really, it was outrageous move.
Yeah.
It was like you were throwing books on fire.
Yeah.
And somebody helped me out here with Steve. I can't remember his name. Steve Dahl. What is the name? you caught me. But yeah, he was my first interview. And then after that, I realized, well, if a lot of the disco artists are not getting back to me, let me gravitate to who worked on this album,
Yeah.
who did the art cover, which producers and which engineers. So I then rounded out the show with people that are also behind the scenes.
Yeah, and that's something too that I think is really cool because of being in the industry for so long and basically knowing all those people, because it's all part of the music industry. It's not just like the person on the stage, but there's plenty of people behind to make the thing go.
But that was what was great about an
Yeah.
album.
Right.
You know, and then
There's-
forget the CD compact disc.
Yeah.
When you had an album and you could pull out the album, the cover, the inner sleeve, and you could see lyrics and you could see who wrote on it, who sang on it, who did music,
Yeah.
who did, all of that. Who was the engineer? All of that, I miss that.
Yeah, totally.
You
We
know?
just started doing a thing because we put on our own shows. We did one here actually at the Wonder Bar back in November, but we'll bring in, bands, Jersey bands.
Sure.
And if they have vinyl, I always get one, and I have them all sign it. And then on the wall in the basement, we have like a bunch of, Jersey indie artists with their vinyl signed up on the wall to make it, it's cool. And like I like that. And what you just said.
I'm glad that vinyl's
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Vinyl is back, and here at Wonder Bar, I mean, I've been called up on the stage with other bands, and just a couple of months ago with Yacht Lobster.
Okay. Yeah.
They're phenomenal.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I got up on stage and then sang, but then I felt the place was packed. I kept taking selfies with people. I'm like, wait, I'm not working. I came to watch the band.
Yeah,
not
right.
be-
I bought a ticket, Yeah.
And so next thing you know, I'm on the guys at the door going, oh shoot, Felipe's on stage.
Okay.
But I am having
Yeah,
the
yeah.
best time of my life.
Yeah, that's great. Amazing. And let's talk about, now that you're having the best time of your life, what's coming up? Because it seems to me, and I've only known you now for a month,
Yeah.
a few weeks, whatever it is. And it just, like, the energy is there for more stuff, and I can just sense it. So there's a lot of stuff coming down the pike for you.
There
so what are
is.
some of those things that people can look forward to 2025 and beyond?
Well, I've been working on my book for a decade, but I kept stopping on and off, and finally, during the pandemic, I started really diving into it, and then in 23 of August, I lost my dad,
Okay.
and I fell off the book. That took me months to get over that. And I tried to get back into it, and here and there. And then there were some other things that happened at the beginning of 24, and I couldn't find my mojo.
Yeah.
So I tapped back into it, and I have the manuscript of so far, and I will get back into it. But now I'm finding that it's best to grab my notebook with notes, pictures, because when I look at pictures, I remember where I was, and there's a story there.
Totally.
So I have like slides
Yep.
of pictures with the negatives.
Yeah, yeah.
You used to pick the pictures up at the pharmacy.
Yeah.
And you pull
You
out the
pull out
pictures.
the-
Either you got
yeah.
the little round wheel with the negative.
Yeah.
So I have boxes of that. I have beta, VHS, CDs. I mean, a massive archive.
Yeah, it must be like a mountain of stuff.
So now what I'm doing, I take a couple of things with me and I go to the coffee shop on Cookman.
Yeah.
And I sit in the back, little tea, and they're so sweet. And I sit there with earplugs on, and I'm finding it's better to tap in for an hour and just fill in a chapter
Yeah.
or whatever, because the house is too distracting.
It is really distracting. Yeah. I used to do, I don't anymore because we got to watch the dog, but just like go to a brewery or go someplace and just like sit and edit or sit and do whatever I need to do to like get stuff done, because the house is great, but like you got to be like out a little bit and see some people and then be able to kind of dial in on what you're doing.
The coffee house, I forget the name of it. I don't know why. It either changed names, but it's a coffee house. But their thing is they do antique teacups and
Okay.
saucers and all that.
Yeah.
And then there's a table with chess. So you see guys that walk in with beers and they sit there and play chess and they sip on their tea. Okay, that's cute. I get it.
Yeah.
And then there's a knitting club with Sharon. And so it's like a nice place where you can, and mostly, and all the coffee houses.
Yeah, really
here
all the
in
ones down there are
Asbury
great.
are like that.
Yeah, I mean that's where I'm gonna probably pop right after this because I have an episode at 4, so it works
There
out.
we
Works
say.
out perfect. Okay, so book coming. Excuse me.
The talks have already begun.
Yep. Book's coming. There's
Documentary,
a documentary
film.
coming. Film. And that's going to be about you specifically.
Not
or
just
the-
me, not me. I did an Audible interview with a London crew last year. And none of the original members wanted to participate. So my manager reached out to them and nope. So the guys in London I got paid handsomely for it. And why not if I'm telling you, giving my story away?
Sure. Yeah.
But now they had a situation like, okay, now it's not a group. We're only interviewing one guy. So they changed the episode and called it Young Man.
Okay.
And so what we did, we turned it around. I shuffled the cards and I said, look, guys, let's do a walkabout on the final of the 3 days up the West Side Highway. And let me give you and take you back, if you will, of what it was like with the overhead over the West Side Highway.
Yeah.
Then we got to 14th Street, and they've got their cameras. My manager likes to hang, Michael DeBarge, loves to hang way in the back. When people will walk up to him and go, "Who's that? Who's that?" He looks familiar.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so-and-so. Oh, my God, I love him. He looks right. So, the Anvil, then we go back up 23rd Street, and the YMCA building, it's still there. So I gave them a sort of like a walkabout tour coming back into the village
Yeah.
of where I grew up,
Sure.
how I pretty much, I was homeless
Yeah.
when I met Jacques Morali. I was still sleeping on the couch, working, and with a key, either staying with someone. A friend of mine, David Jones, who just surfaced on social media out of nowhere, and then or renting a room, but I didn't have my own house.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that I remembered that
Yeah.
while telling that story that, wow, I was homeless when I met the French producer.
Yeah.
And literally he told me, I'm not lying, he said, I'm going to make you famous for your whole life with his French accent.
Yeah.
So the thing is, when I look back, I was at the right place at the right time. I mean, what would have become of my life? Would I have gone into dancing? I know that on the east side of New York, I had friends of another situation, artistic situation, more with Lincoln Center and the art world, and more of a classical background of classical music and
Yep.
with the dance company. Or would I have become a bartender? Who knows
Sure.
where my life would have.
Yeah. So at that time, I feel like, I'm sure there were friends of yours or people in that community and all that kind of stuff that went a variety of ways, and some good, some not so good, but we're sitting here.
And the thing is that when I look back now, and in telling my story and writing my story, that I have to look at that I was at the right place at the right time, but also very blessed to be here, because after the death of disco, Steve Dahl, that was his name.
Yeah.
Look it up.
We'll send them.
The Kaminsky Park disco burning party.
Okay.
Okay, and we went through the death of disco straight into the AIDS crisis. So in speaking to the construction worker yesterday, after the slow media news day we were having yesterday, I hadn't spoken to him in 8 years, and he immediately we fell back in with each other, and he made me laugh. He always called me Rose. Oh, listen, Rose, listen. You ought to know by now that the sweetest revenge is to be healthy and stay looking good.
That's right.
Because all this other stuff will pass. It's a slow media day.
Yeah.
So he made me laugh at the, he said, he left me with this. We've been through worse. We fell down. We got up. We kept going. And we have continued to do so. And we will, and you will.
Yeah, totally. I love that. And I
Yeah.
feel like that is a perfect way to kind of wrap up this episode. But before we do, I want to make sure that we give people places that they can go to learn more about you, interact with the stuff that you're doing now, website, social handles. Where would you want people to go?
New website actually being torn down, reconstructed, but it's still there. FelipeRose.com. Then I'm on official Felipe Rose, my fan page on Facebook. I'm not on X anymore. I can't figure that out.
It's too much.
It's too much.
Yeah,
I
there's
can't
too many
get
things
into,
going on.
Politics now. This country is so sad. Politics has taken over everything. So on, let's see, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, somewhat. I just don't like talking about my life just for the sake of clicks and hearts and numbers and rank. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna showcase who I am.
Right.
I
But
like
it's
living.
important to you.
I like living a quiet, private life.
Yeah.
I'll get up there and do something foolish.
Sure, we all do.
Because everybody does that,
Right.
But other than that, and again, this too shall pass, because it did. I turned the page, and now I'm sitting here with you.
That's right.
And I thank you for that. But overall, with a documentary and a biopic that sometime later in the year or next year, going into a situation like that is a bit sort of hard to, it's difficult.
Yeah.
Because that means that you have to open your life to things you may not want to talk about, things I pushed down and said I'll never talk about it again or remember. So here I am at this stage in my life that now everybody's all in my business. That's why everyone's going to get a W-2 form. People are all up in my business. Can you all just leave me alone,
Yeah. Yeah.
Madonna always had, she was our opening act, Madonna always had an interesting answer. When people would want to know, she would say, well, why do you want to know? Why do you want to know?
Yeah. What's it to you?
It's my business.
That's right.
And then, unfortunately, we are living in a time where everything is either, because the internet has made everyone a critic.
Sure.
Well, keyboard
Everybody's an
warriors.
expert, yeah.
Keyboard warriors. And all the fun that we used to have sharing, talking about this movie, I really liked it. And now you have people that are not happy, that they shit all over your stuff on social media. They're not happy. So, I look at it like, okay, I don't even respond. And I either delete or just walk away.
Yeah. Awesome.
But I
love that.
don't know
Yeah.
where else I would live. I've made now this my home.
Yeah.
This is now my forever home.
Right.
And what do you say at 71? Well, I'm 17, 71 backwards. I'm 17 again at heart. But the thing is that I've seen the city grow, and I know many of the musicians and the people and the regulars here and all the restaurant owners and the establishments. So there isn't really anywhere now that I think I want to live.
No, it's a great place. And we'll make sure that we put the links and the social handles and all your stuff in the show notes. People just go click it. Again, thank you to Tom at Mutiny Barbecue for introducing us at Georgie's, so shout out to them too. And thank you to Debbie at the Wonder Bar for hosting us here. This has been great.
I had a kick-ass party at Taka.
I'm sure.
And it was about 15 misfits.
Yeah.
And again, just people that I know that were very comfortable just laughing with each other.
Yeah.
No pretense. Some didn't show up dressed. Some were dressed to the nines like me. But overall, it's that genuine smiling face, that genuine hug, and just really just enjoying time with each other.
Yeah,
And that was amazing.
I love it. And that's kind of the story.
And I want to thank everyone here in Asbury Park, the city of misfits.
Yeah.
We love it.
We love it. Okay. show links will be in the show notes. Like I said, Felipe, thank you so much for
Thank you, Mike.
for doing this with us. This has been amazing.
Absolutely.
And sharing your story and spending
part
an
of
hour.
it.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty more. I'm
Yeah,
sure
but-
we can talk about. But we've been talking for coming up on an hour. By the time I'm done with this outro, we'll hit an hour. We'll also put greetingsfromthegardenestate.com in the show notes. This will be our second episode of the year.
Yeah, that's great.
Coming out next week. So
That's
it'll be
fantastic.
a quick little turnaround. So all of our other episodes that we released over the last few years, check them out. Felipe Rose, Mike Ham, we were here at the Wonder Bar today. This has been the Greetings from the Garden State podcast, powered by the New Jersey Lottery. Thank you for listening. You want to send us out with a... We'll catch you next time.